There are new, very interesting developments about Tesla Giga Berlin. I have a very interesting update about the latest development of Tesla Giga Berlin. For example, that when it comes to the expansion of the second phase or third phase even of Tesla Giga Berlin, Steinbach, economic minister of Brandenburg, says German authorities have made it very clear to Elon Musk that he needs to look further elsewhere because of the water issue, and that the Brandenburg can't rely on tourism alone and needs companies like Tesla to build huge factories like Giga Berlin to build electric cars, or interesting details about Elon Musk's personality and how he manages and works Tesla, such as he personally signs even small invoices of Giga Berlin. In this report, I'm going to tell you a lot of interesting particularities revealed by Brandenburg's economy minister Jörg Steinbach to RBB24. Welcome back, dear friends. This is Armen Hareyan from TorqueNews.com. Please subscribe to our channel for daily Tesla news and give us thumbs up. Please ring the bell so you don't miss my next Tesla coverage. Jobs, the economic boom, new roads and rails, the Tesla factory Giga Berlin could change a lot in the region and exacerbate the water shortage, says RBB. Economics Minister Jörg Steinbach defends the settlement of Giga Berlin and is impressed by Elon Musk. Here is a very interesting interview. RBB asks, Mr. Steinbach, the Leibniz Institute for Freshwater Ecology has published an assessment. It says no large-scale industry should be located in the region around Tesla because water is scarce there due to droughts and climate change. Why does this happen anyway? Jörg Steinbach from SPD party, Brandenburg's economy minister, responds and says, first, you have to put Tesla's water consumption in relation to what already existing companies there use. When it comes to the larger companies, Tesla is on the lower edge with its needs. Yeah, Tesla uses less water, and I think 2.2 cubic versus industry average being 3 cubic per car. In addition, a distinction has to be made between expansion stage 1 and expansion stages 2 and 3 of the plant, Giga Berlin. For the first expansion stage with up to 10,000 employees, this also works including the battery factory. But we never said that the resources directly available in Grünheide would be sufficient for 40,000 employees. In the further expansion stages, we informed Tesla of this before we decided on the location. The solution is I have to look further away. This doesn't mean Tesla has to build another factory further away, but they have to look for water and resources further away and bring them to Giga Berlin. RBB adds, so you can tell the citizens with 100% certainty that as of now there will be no problem with drinking water? Steinbach says, I come from security technology. There is nowhere 100% security. This is true. But according to all that can be estimated today, there will be no such problem on the water supply side. RBB asks, the construction and the approval process are very quick. Should you have planned more time to take more people with you in this decision-making thing? Steinbach says, I am often enough in the region and present myself to the citizens in the discussions. He says, make myself available. But I also tell these people, and I mean it bitterly seriously, a federal state of Brandenburg will not be able to live from tourism alone. The tax revenue that you have without economic and industrial income will never be enough to guarantee the standard of living with everything that the state pays off. I'm trying to get more settlements all over the country so that we can manage climate investments over the next few years, among other things. Then he continued saying, the second point is that Germany as a whole is not particularly sensitive to change. Everything that means change first triggers fears. This is pity. I never found out why this mentality developed in this way in Germany. At some point, however, the realization must come that this change brings something positive with it, namely that families can stay together, that young people do not have to leave because they have a perspective on life and work here. This is an interesting thought, right? RBB then asks, Elon Musk laughed at worries about water when he visited in August. How do you rate this reaction? RBB probably means Elon Musk laughing when someone asked about water scarce. Look what Steinbach responded, and I kind of like this response. Steinbach said, I would like to relate this to a very personal expression of my opinion as a person and not as a minister. Steinbach speaks as a person, not as a minister. He says, I would have wished for a lot more empathy, for something more serious. That would have been much more appropriate for the mood in the region. Something was given away by this reaction, meaning the reaction, laughing reaction of Elon Musk. I kind of agree with this. RBB says, who are we dealing with at Elon Musk? Steinbach says, we are dealing with an entrepreneur person. He is not only making extraordinary developments in electromobility, he also has tunneling and other technology firms. He is actually a person with a high level of creativity and is deeply into the details of the individual projects. Even comparatively small invoices have to be signed by him. You can tell that he was trained as a physicist. I had been talking shop with him deeply in physics about battery development for a long time, which was a lot of fun. In other words, a personality with extremely many facets, but one that surprises you again and again. RBB's next question is this. The Fangschloss station is to be relocated closer to the Tesla plant Giga Berlin at the cost of the country. Why isn't Tesla paying for that? Steinbach says that gets back a few years. Tesla wasn't even mentioned at that time. Some time ago, new trains were purchased on the line, and they are much longer than the trains before. At this point, it was already decided that the stations along this route would be converted for this length of trains. So that explains it. RBB has another question saying, but remodeling is different from relocating. Steinbach says, yes, on the one hand, that is certainly correct. But that also has to do with the planning there, and you had to look at the point in which direction it would be extended. At this point, it makes sense to adapt it to the given situations. It would be nonsense if you didn't do that. But as I said, the bottom line is that the train station there have to undergo a change. This decision is much older. I kind of like this approach, he is very pragmatic. He really is willing to adapt to a situation that can benefit people and their families, keeping families together. RBB says an expert opinion commissioned by the Brandenburg Left Party, however, says that this is a subsidy for Tesla that violates EU competition law. This has nothing to do with Tesla, says Steinbach, or at most very, very indirectly. At that point, there is absolutely no interaction with this process. He said, referring to Fangschloss station moving to the other place. Then RBB thanked Steinbach, and the RBB says this interview was reproduced here, was an abbreviated version of an interview conducted by Gesine Anwalt for the film Dispute About Tesla. What does the Gigafactory bring? To be seen in the ARD Mediathek and on the 1st of October 18 at 21st 9:45, as well as on RBB television on October 26 at 9:15 p.m. So if you are from the region, friends, look forward for this documentary. I will keep an eye on this documentary to see, hopefully we can get some more information what Steinbach said to this place, because a lot of places in this RBB's reports there are 3 dots and etc. where we didn't know, because we're looking forward to the full interview on these dates on these channels. I will have the link in the description of this video. I don't speak German, so if any one of you can find interesting information that you think our channel friends and observers can benefit and subscribers, please let me know. Send me some translation if you wish. I would greatly appreciate, as we're going to keep our finger on this development. This is Armin Harayan from TorqueNews.com. Please subscribe to our channel for daily Tesla and electric vehicle serious discussions. Look at the comments under our reports. They're very interesting and informative, friends. So subscribe to our channel, give us thumbs up for this video if you found it informative, and I would greatly appreciate if you would tweet it out. Have a great day. God bless you, everyone, and peace be with all of you and your families.